I worked in a bar throughout college, and it was kind of a bar that liked to dole out the Jameson shots.
Oh, yeah.
If not ginger brandy. That was a big thing at the bar I worked at. You remember that?
That's the first thing I ever puked on.
Ginger brandy?
Extra sharp ginger brandy.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to the Western Wisconsin Whiskey Emporium for ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eddie.
I'm Dan.
And we're the Deathless Dogs. Today, we're going to hit you with 8 great bottles for beginners.
These are bottles that are generally readily available for the most part, save for like one of them. Most of them are pretty decently priced. Most of them are going to have pretty easy flavors to get on board with. And these are just 8 bottles for the beginner whiskey drinker, or not even necessarily like beginner, because these are all good. We have all of them, obviously. We drink them. But when you're in the whiskey aisle, it can be kind of daunting if you don't know what you're looking at, really. You're just kind of going by labels and like prices and stuff like that. And you don't know. You've never had a lot of them. These are just 8 suggestions of things that we think you'd probably enjoy if you've started drinking whiskey and you like it and you want to drink more. Let's kick it off with the ultimate beginner bourbon.
Artfully aged in Kentucky hillside rickhouses, we're bringing you Basil Hayden's. I think at the price point, as well as just the mellowness of it all, you really can't go wrong. It's going to give you kind of a general outline of what bourbon tastes like. There's a bit of a caramel apple vibe with subtle hints of peanuts. So if you're into that, Basil Hayden's isn't going to beat up your wallet, and it's going to give you a pretty good flavor profile to jump off from moving forward in your hunt for better bourbons.
Yeah, this one is a big beginner bourbon. A lot of people find it very approachable because honestly, it does not have like a ton of flavor. So if you're a newcomer to bourbon, or you've had some that are like a little tough to drink, this is a good one because you're getting that lighter flavor, but still those bourbon flavors and becoming acclimated to it. Many people who are like more seasoned bourbon drinkers really start looking past Basil Hayden's. I've heard some people call it bourbon LaCroix because it is very lightly flavored, but that's probably what you're looking for as a beginner, really.
Yeah.
Is something that's going to be easy to drink, not overly expensive. You can find it on sale in the 20s from time to time.
Absolutely.
Nice looking bottle. It's a good pickup for beginners especially.
We're going to bring in some Eagle Rare, and I know some of you are thinking, well, that's kind of hard to find.
Eagle Rare, while it can be hard to find, if you find it on a shelf at retail price, which is usually between $30 and $40 somewhere, it's a great pickup. It's a 10-year bourbon from Buffalo Trace. So, like, if you're a bourbon beginner, Buffalo Trace is like, oh my god. You know, for being 10 years old, it's not heavy on, like, the oak and spice. It's much more fruity. I know you've called it, like, old-fashioned in a bottle, kind of. You get that kind of cherry citrus thing. Good price point, good flavor. You're going to score some points with your, like, people that you're trying to possibly impress with your bourbon collection by having an Eagle Rare on your shelf. It's not the end-all, be-all, though. If you're seeing it for like $50, just walk on by. If you find it at retail, somewhere in the 30s, pick it up. It's a good one. So next up is one that you will find on every liquor store shelf in America, most likely. Because everybody's got to have a nice gobbler.
Big old gobbler.
On your shelf. And this would be Wild Turkey 101. And some of you watching right now have probably done shots of this and are thinking, what the hell are you guys talking about? When you're in college and doing shots of stuff, this is going to be brutal. But if you've started drinking a little bit and you've started to like different flavors of bourbon, this is going to provide a good bourbon flavor with a decent punch, bumping you up to that 101 proof. So still not super high proof, but enough that you're going to start feeling that burn a little bit. And it's a Wild Turkey product, so the value on it is insane. I haven't had this in quite a while, and I'm going to open it up. And if you're buying whiskey, one of the most exciting parts of it is opening a new bottle that you just bought.
Also known as fresh bottle poppin'.
And if the 101 proof scares you, they do have the regular Wild Turkey, which I think is like 80 proof. A little tamer, but honestly, I think the 101 is just going to give you more of what you're looking for with bourbon flavors. And if you like this, then that's introducing you to the wonderful world of Wild Turkey, including things like Rare Breed and then the Russell's Reserve lines and things like that. This is a good value whiskey. Everybody has it. I feel like every beginner needs to go through at least one bottle of 101.
It's a good gateway bourbon, if you will.
It can be a gateway to some tomfoolery. Really nice, solid, that turkey, caramely. I mean,
Little hints of dark chocolate even.
yeah, it's so enjoyable.
I'm going to bring it in with some Buffalo Trace. I've seen it anywhere from $25 to $30. Sometimes, depending on where you're at, though, it can go as high as $35. I will not spend a dime more than that.
I would have a hard time spending over like $30 for
Yeah.
Buffalo Trace, honestly. This is another quintessential beginner bourbon.
Absolutely.
Really. It's the little brother to Eagle Rare. Same mash bill, less age. It's going to bring you some familiar flavors there. I know some people have a hard time finding this. In our area, it's pretty much around in perpetuity at this point.
Yeah. When I was stuck on a cruise ship for a week, they had Buffalo Trace bourbon, so I had a few glasses along the way, you know, and I likened it to Diet Eagle Rare.
In some of your areas, they're going to try to jack the price up on it because it's Buffalo Trace products. And they're
Big name right now.
yeah, they're very sought after, and it's tough because you want to try it. You want to have the cool stuff. A lot of restaurants that have bars are going to have Buffalo Trace, I've found.
Yeah.
So you can try it at a restaurant. If you're out to dinner and you see like their whiskey list, any bar with a whiskey list is going to have Buffalo Trace. So far, we've got 4 bourbons on the table, and we're going to throw a bit of a curveball here. And it's also going to be the highest priced offering on the table. However, I do feel it is the most universally enjoyable of everything in this list.
Yes.
People who don't drink whiskey will drink this.
This is a gateway whiskey.
Redbreast 12. It's an Irish whiskey, aged 12 years. You're going to find it in the 60s price-wise usually. And that's going to seem, as a beginner, maybe it's a little tough on your wallet, but it's going to be worth it. I don't think there's going to be many people that are disappointed in a Redbreast 12. Sweet, shortbready, very easy to drink, minimal burn. It's just so easygoing.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic, especially if you're somebody who's like been drinking Jameson shots in bars and you're okay with that. This is your next level. Not gonna feel like shit. You know, there's not a lot of wincing going on in a room full of people drinking Redbreast.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's great. A while back we did the Bourbon Bulleit in Bulleit Bourbon, but we also discovered that Bulleit Bourbon ain't half bad either. Generally, it comes in around $25. It's kind of, as we discovered, a very similar flavor profile to the highly acclaimed Blanton's.
It really is, and if you don't believe us on that, just do a side-by-side if you have both of them. It was weird to us. Like, it was very weird to discover that. In that 20s price range, it's very drinkable, works great in cocktails. Their rye is also in a similar price range, and their rye is fantastic in cocktails, really. It's very good for that. Again, a ubiquitous bottle that every liquor store is going to have on their shelf, readily available. You don't got to hunt for it, so if you drink it and you like it, you're not going to have trouble finding another one.
I think they even sell it at Target.
It's just a good, like, again, beginner bourbon, where the flavors aren't going to be too intense and like burn you out or anything. It's going to be an easy drinker. You're going to have a good time with it. And then if you like it, they do have older Bulleits. You can find a lot of Bulleit store picks at different stores. I've had a couple that I've really liked. It's just a good all-arounder, really.
Yeah.
It'll work in most situations.
Now this one here is one of my personal favorites. Dan can attest to this as far back as 2012 when I'd come home from Milwaukee and we'd get real drunk at the Helm Bar. I was always Knob Creek over Makers when it came to our top-tier bar bourbons available in La Crosse. So Knob Creek I've always kind of latched on to and enjoyed quite a bit. This particular bottle is a store pick from Stark's in Prairie du Chien. However, it kind of gives you what you're looking for in terms of the general outlook of the bottle and everything. I think the run-of-the-mill regular Knob Creeks usually come in around 90 proof, if I'm not mistaken, whereas single-barrel store picks or their single-barrel select reserves come in at 120 proof. So it gives you a little bit of that heat And the thing that I love about this bottle is that they oftentimes have a very strong, like, orange peel type flavor to them, but they also have subtle notes of maple. It's one that I think provides you with a great baseline to kind of calibrate and hone in your bourbon palate.
The great thing about Knob Creek is if you start with that standard run-of-the-mill Knob Creek that you're going to find in every bar in America probably, that gives you a jumping off point if you really like it. Really, if you started here and you enjoyed it, but it's like getting a little watery, I think your next step, you can go to the Knob Creek.
Yeah.
Both made by Jim Beam. Final bottle.
Last but not least,
Maybe least in our hearts. We reviewed this bottle a long time ago based on the general hype around it. A lot of people saying they really enjoyed it. We did not particularly like it all that much. However, we're including it on this list because a lot of times in like different whiskey groups online, people ask the question, hey, what's the bourbon that got you into bourbon? And I would say even like close to a majority of people say that it was Woodford Double Oaked. And I guess I can understand why. I think maybe I wasn't loving this so much because I'd already had the Old Forester 1910 and just thought that that was so much better. I don't know, but I feel like this is one that hits that price range, that like $45 to $55. So you felt like you shelled out a little bit. Cool looking bottle. I mean, really not awful flavor. I mean, I don't hate it or anything.
Yeah.
It just didn't like check the boxes for me personally. But I can see how this would be one. It's pretty easy drinking and it's readily available in most places. It sounds cool to say. Woodford Reserve Double Oak. Like it's, you know, it sounds fancy. Comes in this squatty little bottle, which, you know, it's got all the things going for it.
one thing that I'd say, like, if you're trying to transition from, like, the beers to the bourbons, or just trying to broaden your horizons, maybe. If you're the type of person that goes to a bar and orders a stout, or if you like Guinness or something, I think Woodford Reserve might be, like, a complimentary whiskey that would, like, align itself with your palate.
Yeah, even this Double Oak, because it's got that dark kind of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could agree there. It's another one similar to Basil Hayden's. I think people kind of grow out of after a little while.
Yeah.
But it is a good one to go, like, maybe you've been on the Turkeys and the Buffalo Trace and stuff, and this is going to give you, I think, more of an idea of what exactly oak is doing to your bourbon.
I agree with that, because I do remember that having a little bit thicker and creamier of a mouthfeel than a lot of the whiskeys that we have on the table right now.
And for those of you wondering what double oak means, it means they aged it in a new charred oak barrel like they normally would. And they aged it for longer in a second new charred oak barrel. So it's been double oaked. That's imparting much more flavor into it, in theory. You should try it. I think Woodford is a path that a lot of people go down and find many things that they really like. Those are our 8 great bottles for beginners. Have you tried any of these, and would you agree? Do you disagree? Are there some bottles that we missed that maybe started you out into drinking? Let us know. Like, what was your first bottle that made you love drinking whiskey? Hit like if you haven't yet. Hit subscribe on the channel. We appreciate those numbers going up. It's doing wonders for us. We'll be here next week with more maybe general advice. Who knows? I don't know what we're doing next week. Not yet.
Next Wednesday, we're doing something. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Fancy swirl of the water
Got to.
from the ice mountain.
Ain't bad water.
Yeah, it's not Dasani.
Is Dasani like the worst water?
Oh yeah.
That's like Houston tap water, isn't it?